Tonight, something is going to happen. Not tomorrow, not later, tonight. You feel it the moment you step into the street. Rome is moving, but not the way it should. People speak, but their voices don't settle. They glance, but never long enough. Conversations end too quickly, as if something has already been decided. You don't stop, you move with it, because whatever this is, it isn't hidden. It's spreading. Through narrow streets, through quiet exchanges, through people who seem careful without knowing why. And the closer you move, the clearer it becomes. This isn't uncertainty, this isn't tension, this is direction. Something is already in motion, and no one is trying to stop it. Not because they don't see it, but because it's already too late. You don't know where it leads yet, but you understand one thing. Whatever happens next will not be undone. You don't slow down. Whatever you felt when you stepped into the street, it's stronger now. Not louder, not clearer, but closer. The city hasn't changed. Stone still holds the same warmth from the day. Lanterns still burn at the same uneven rhythm. Footsteps still pass without hesitation. And yet none of it settles. There's a break in the way things move tonight. A hesitation that doesn't belong. You notice it first in the spaces between people, in the moments where conversations should continue, but don't. Voices lower without reason. Words shorten. Glances replace what should have been said. And then they move on, as if nothing was missing. But something is. You keep walking, not because you know where you're going, but because stopping feels wrong. Because whatever this is, it isn't waiting for you. It's moving without you. And the further you go, the more it gathers. Two men stand too close in a narrow stretch of street. Not speaking, but not leaving either. One of them shifts slightly as you pass, just enough to block your view of the other. Not accidental, controlled, deliberate. You don't look back, you don't need to. You already understand what that was. Further ahead, a door closes too quickly. Not slammed, not forced, just timed. As if someone inside knew exactly when to end the conversation, as if it had already gone on too long. You keep moving, because now it's not just a feeling, it's a pattern, and once you see it, it's everywhere. People step aside sooner than they should. Paths open where they wouldn't normally. You are being allowed through, not noticed, not stopped, just not in the way. As if whatever is unfolding doesn't involve you and doesn't need to. That should make it easier to ignore. But it doesn't, because the deeper you move into it, the clearer it becomes. This isn't confusion, this isn't fear. No one is reacting, no one is surprised. Everything that's happening tonight has already been decided. You feel it in the way movement flows around you, not chaotic, not uncertain, but directed. Like something set in motion earlier, now simply continuing, uninterrupted, unchallenged. A figure crosses your path ahead, not rushing, not careful, just steady. There's no hesitation in the way he moves, no second glance, no awareness of anything being wrong. And that's what stands out, because he isn't part of it. Or if he is, he doesn't know it yet. You watch him for a moment longer than you should, not because of who he is, but because of what surrounds him. Nothing shifts for him, nothing adjusts. The city doesn't make space, the pattern breaks, just for him, and then closes again behind him. You keep walking, but now there's a direction to it, not chosen, but understood, because whatever is happening is not everywhere, it's moving, and you are close enough now to follow it, not by sight, not by sound, but by absence, by what isn't being said, by what ends too early, by the spaces where something should have happened and didn't. The street narrows, the light thins, shadows hold longer between the walls, and for the first time, it feels contained, not spread across the city, but gathered, focused. You slow slightly, not enough to stop, just enough to notice more. And there it is again, a conversation that never begins, two men standing close, facing each other, but saying nothing. One of them nods, the other steps away, and it's done. No words, no delay, no uncertainty. You don't need to hear it, because whatever passed between them was already understood. You move past them, and as you do, You feel it shift again, closer now, more defined, not just a pattern but a direction, something ahead of you, drawing everything toward it, and without deciding to, you follow, because at this point, there is no other way to move. Whatever is happening tonight is not waiting to be discovered, it's unfolding, and you are already inside it. You don't hesitate now. Whatever you felt before, it has direction. Not random, not scattered, but narrowing. The city isn't holding something back anymore, it's guiding it. You notice it in the way people position themselves, not standing where they were, but where they need to be. Not watching, not waiting, just placed, as if each of them understands something you don't, and doesn't need to say it. You move through them, and for the first time, you feel resistance. Not enough to stop you, not enough to draw attention, just enough to redirect. A step here, a shift there, small adjustments that change your path without forcing it. You could turn away, you could leave, but you don't, because whatever this is, it isn't behind you anymore. It's ahead. And the closer you move, the more precise it becomes. A voice carries from somewhere just out of sight, low, measured, not hurried. You don't hear the words, but you recognize the tone. It isn't uncertainty, it isn't negotiation, it's agreement, something already understood, being confirmed. You slow, not to stop, but to listen. The voice ends, footsteps follow. Not one set, several. They separate quickly, each moving in a different direction, each disappearing before you can follow, not scattered, placed, deliberate. You continue forward, because now you're not following a feeling, you're following structure, and structure doesn't appear without intent. Another figure stands at the edge of the street, still, unmoving, not guarding, not watching, but aware. You pass him, and just before you move beyond his reach, he turns slightly, not toward you, not toward anything, just enough to acknowledge something unseen, a signal. Small, controlled, and immediately after, the street ahead shifts, movement opens, a path clears, not wide, not obvious, but enough. You step into it, because at this point, there's no question left. Whatever is unfolding tonight is coordinated, not chaotic, not uncertain. Every movement you've seen, every silence, every absence has led you here. The air feels different now, heavier, not with fear, but with certainty, as if the outcome has already been accepted, and everything now is just preparation. You hear it again, not voices but the lack of them, the way sound disappears too quickly, the way footsteps don't echo as they should, the way space holds still, longer than it's meant to. You're close, close enough that the pattern no longer hides itself. Two figures step into view ahead. They don't stop, they don't speak, but as they pass each other, one of them makes the smallest movement, a shift of the hand, barely visible, barely noticeable, but not accidental. The other acknowledges it, not with words, not with a glance, just by continuing forward. And that's enough. It's done. Whatever that exchange was, it didn't need to be heard, it didn't need to be seen, because it had already been decided. And the further you go, the more it sharpens. This isn't gathering anymore, it's aligning. Everything you've seen tonight, every interruption, every silence, every controlled movement has been part of the same thing, and now it's converging. The street narrows again, the light dims further, shadows stretch longer, holding their shape, refusing to break. And for the first time, you feel it clearly, not just presence, not just tension, but intent, focused, directed, unavoidable. You stop, not because you choose to, but because there is nowhere else to go. Ahead of you, the path doesn't end, but it changes. The openness is gone. What lies beyond isn't hidden, it's withheld. And everything in the city, everything you've passed through, everything you've followed, leads here. You don't step forward yet, because you understand something now that you didn't before. This isn't about discovery. This isn't about finding what's happening. It's about realizing that whatever it is has already been set, not by chance, not by impulse, but by people who have already chosen What comes next? You hear movement behind you, not approaching, not leaving, just present. You are not alone here, not in the way you thought, not separate from it, but within it, surrounded by people who know something you don't, but are no longer trying to hide it, because they don't need to, because whatever happens next is not uncertain, it is not undecided, it is waiting, and that is the difference. Nothing tonight is building toward a possibility, everything is holding for a moment, a single point, a single shift, that hasn't happened yet, but will. You take one step forward, and everything around you settles, not into silence, but into readiness, and for the first time, you don't feel like you're following it anymore. You feel like you've arrived at the edge of it. Whatever comes next has already been chosen, and all that remains is for it to reveal itself. You don't turn back. Not because you can't, but because there is nothing behind you anymore. Everything that mattered, everything that led you here, is ahead. And now it's no longer hidden, not in the way it was before. The pattern isn't subtle anymore. It's clear, not visible, but undeniable. You step forward, and the space changes. Not wider, not narrower, but quieter, not empty, just controlled. The kind of silence that doesn't come from absence, but from agreement. You feel it in the way your own movement slows, not forced, not resisted, just matched, as if the pace of everything around you has already been decided. You take another step, and another, and each one feels like it belongs here, like this moment was always meant to be reached. A figure stands ahead, still, unmoving, not blocking your path but defining it. You don't recognize him, not by face, not by presence, but by the way the space holds around him. He isn't part of the pattern, he is the point where it converges. You approach. He doesn't react, doesn't look, doesn't shift. But just before you pass him, he breathes in, slow, measured, and in that moment, everything aligns. You feel it, not as sound, not as movement, but as certainty, the kind that doesn't need confirmation, the kind that has already been accepted. You move beyond him, and now there is no doubt left. This is not preparation. This is not uncertainty. This is position. Everything is in place. Everyone who needs to be here is already here. Everyone who needs to know already knows. You hear it behind you. A step, then another, then nothing. No pursuit, no urgency, just presence. More than one, more than a few, and none of them need to move quickly, because nothing needs to be chased, nothing needs to be caught. Whatever happens next will happen where it is meant to. You keep moving, but not forward, not anymore. Now you move into it. The difference is small, but undeniable. Before, you were following something. Now, you are inside it. A doorway appears ahead, not hidden, not marked, just there, as if it has always been part of the path, and only now matters. The light around it is different, not brighter, not dimmer, just steady, unaffected by the movement of the street, unaffected by everything around it. You stop, not out of hesitation, but because there is nothing else to do. This is where it leads, not a place, not a destination, a moment. You don't reach for the door, you don't step closer, because you understand something now. Whatever lies beyond it is not meant to be interrupted, not by you, not by anyone. You hear voices, low, controlled, not urgent, not afraid, not questioning. There is no uncertainty in them, no hesitation, no doubt. They are not deciding, they are confirming, and that is what changes everything. You don't need to hear the words, because you already know what they are, not in detail, not in form, but in outcome. Will not be undone. A shadow passes across the light, then another. Movement inside, measured, precise, not hidden, not revealed, exactly as it needs to be. You feel it again, that same certainty, but stronger now, not approaching, not forming, set, complete. The city beyond this point no longer matters. The streets you walked, the people you passed, the patterns you followed, they all led here, and now they fall away, not disappearing, not ending, just irrelevant, because this is where everything shifts. You step closer, just enough to feel it, the edge of something that cannot be stopped. You don't cross it, you don't need to, because the moment has already taken shape, not in action, not in movement, but in decision. That is what holds everything together, not what will happen, but what has already been chosen. You step back, not in fear, not in doubt, but in understanding. You were never meant to be part of it, only to reach this point, only to feel it, only to know that whatever comes next was decided long before it happens. The voice is inside quiet, not abruptly, not suddenly, just finished. And in that silence, everything settles, not into stillness, but into inevitability. Nothing changes, and that is what confirms it. Because if something this significant were uncertain, you would feel it, but you don't. There is no instability, no hesitation, no shift, only completion, and that is what makes it real. You turn slightly, not to leave, not yet, but to look back. The street behind you is unchanged. Movement continues, people pass, voices carry. Everything is exactly as it was, and yet it isn't, because now you understand. Nothing you saw before was random. Nothing you followed was accidental. It was all leading here, to this point, to this moment, where nothing has happened yet, and everything has already been decided. You face forward again. The doorway remains, unchanged, unmoved, holding what it holds, and you realize something you didn't before. You don't need to see what happens next, because whatever it is will not begin here. It will reveal itself later, elsewhere, in a way the city cannot stop, in a way no one here will prevent. And when it does, it will not feel sudden, it will not feel unexpected, it will feel inevitable, because tonight, everything that makes it possible has already been set. You step into the doorway. The voices stop for a fraction of a second, not long enough to draw attention, just long enough for you to feel it. Then they continue. A man stands closest to you, turned halfway toward another. His hand lifts slightly as he speaks, then drops again as if the gesture was enough to finish the thought. The other man nods once. No questions, no hesitation. They separate immediately. One leaves through the back. The other steps aside, making space for the next person already moving forward. You stay where you are. Another exchange begins. Short, direct. A name is spoken. The room shifts. You see it in the way shoulders straighten, in the way attention locks without anyone turning their head. The man who hears the name does not react outwardly. He answers quietly, a single sentence. You catch only the last word. Tomorrow. The response is immediate. A nod, nothing more. The two men step apart, already finished. Someone else moves in, older this time. He carries himself differently. Slower, but certain. He speaks without lowering his voice. You hear more of this one. First light. The phrase lands with precision. No one questions it. No one repeats it. It is accepted as soon as it is said. The man he speaks to turns and leaves. He doesn't look back. He doesn't confirm anything. He simply walks out, already committed to what he's been given. Another man replaces him, then another. Each one stepping forward at the exact moment the previous one leaves. No overlap, no delay. Every exchange takes only seconds. Every decision is already understood. You watch the rhythm form. Step forward, speak, confirm, leave. Again, step forward, speak, confirm, leave. Nothing breaks it, nothing slows it. You focus on one man as he steps into place. He listens, nods once, then pauses. For the first time, something shifts. He glances toward the center of the room, not toward a person, toward a position, as if someone should be there, as if something is missing. The moment passes. He turns and leaves. The rhythm continues. You understand now. This isn't planning. This is distribution. Each man leaves with a piece of something already complete, each one carrying it outward. You step back from the doorway. No one stops you, no one notices, or if they do, it doesn't matter. The work inside continues without interruption. You turn into the street. The air feels different. Clearer, not lighter, just settled. A man exits the building behind you. You recognize him by the way he moves. The same certainty you saw inside. He walks past you without a glance. Another follows, then another. They spread out quickly, each taking a different direction. You watch them go. Not one of them hesitates. Not one of them slows. Each step already decided. You take a few steps forward, then stop. Because now you can see it. The city hasn't changed. The movement you noticed earlier makes sense now. The pauses, the glances, the silences. They were never random. They were part of this. You follow one of the men at a distance. He turns once, not to check behind him, to orient himself, then continues. He knows where he's going. You let him disappear into the street. You don't need to follow further. You already understand what happens next. Not tonight. Tomorrow. That's when it becomes visible. That's when the city will feel it. You step away from the building. The doorway behind you is quiet again, still, unremarkable. No one passing would notice it. No one would know what just happened inside. You walk on. The city folds back into itself. Voices rise. Doors open. Footsteps return to their usual rhythm. Everything looks the same. But you carry something different now. You know where the movement leads. You know when it will surface. You reach the end of the street. You stop once more, only for a moment, because there is nothing left to see tonight. Everything that matters has already been set. What comes next will not begin here. It will reveal itself elsewhere, in daylight, in front of the city. And when it does, it will not feel sudden. It will feel prepared. You turn and leave the street behind. And as you do, one thought settles clearly. You will return, not to this place, but to the moment this night was leading toward. Because whatever was decided here is going to be seen. And when it is, there will be no turning it back.